Chapter 23. When he returned to his room, Zeke stood in the middle of it, with his hands on his hips, and stared at his unmade bed. He scratched the side of his neck. What now? Just when he thought he had things figured out, he was as lost as ever. The quilt hung haphazardly from his bed, and discarded clothes lay in a heap in the corner. He'd become a royal slob. Determined to be in control of something, he straightened his small space, all the time hearing her desperate command.
Please leave.
He tucked the sheet around the edges of the bed, shook out the quilt, and let it fall. Good enough. Shoving the loose items into his pack, he found the bills from Simon. If there was one person in this town he could do without, it was Mr. Oakfield. He flopped onto his bed, weary and confused. God, help me. Striking out on his own wasn't hard. Packing his bags and loading Susie Girl hadn't been difficult. The weeks on horseback had been lonely, but nothing he couldn't handle. And now he was trapped. Growling out his frustration, he reached under his pillow for his Bible. Thumbing through it, he turned to Romans for one of his favorite passages. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God. The words calmed his mind enough for him to think again. He would post a letter to Rachel, take Susie Girl for a walk, and get some fresh air. Feeling antsy, he wanted to be going and doing something, now that sitting cozy next to Eloise was out of the question. He shoved the bills in his pocket and marched out of the room, with his letter to Rachel in hand. Agnes was there, mopping the floor in the kitchen when he came from the adjoining room. Looking over at him, she smiled.
I thought I heard you.
Focusing on her mopping, she said,
Didn't expect you back so soon. I don't have anything on for dinner, honey, but there are things in the display that you may have your pick from.
Thank you, but I have business across town. I'll pick something up if I get hungry, which wasn't likely to happen in his current mood.
Eloise wasn't home?
The smile she tried to hide came through her words. She was perceptive. He'd not told anyone of his plans. He stuttered, She was busy, spring cleaning and the like. Agnes gave him a knowing look that stung. He didn't like to be pitied.
Another time, hon,
she said. He grunted. That's what he'd tried to tell himself. It took time to grow the kind of relationship he was after. No matter the desire he felt for her, he hadn't meant to bare his soul today, and the reality of her response cut him deeper than he would admit. He chided himself that he hadn't even told Eloise the main reason for his visit. It would have been better if he'd just spit it out. But he was always on the wrong side with the women in his life. Even if he told them what he planned, step by step, they disagreed with him. But if he didn't tell them, they falsely accused him of hiding something. Rachel always pointed out the fault in his logic. He learned it was better for him to barrel on ahead and finish and then pay for the results, rather than be nitpicked along the way. Less chance of failure if he didn't tell anyone. And then, of course, he was free to change his mind. He resented the presence of self-doubt that wedged its way in. He was a grown man, after all. Going or staying was still his choice. All the better if he was able to enjoy himself in the process, but he would never intentionally lead a girl on for his own carnal pleasures. Eloise's words had bitten him. She'd accused him of using her. Pshaw! Did she not know him at all? He'd just told her he loved her, hadn't he? Maybe not in so many words, but he'd used plenty of other words that practically meant the same thing. He'd been leaning in for a kiss to seal the deal when she felt the need to ask arbitrary questions. What did loving a sister have to do with anything? Women were always griping about their men for not picking up on minuscule hints, yet he didn't have an inkling of what he'd done wrong this time. Did she not care one iota he was in the middle of telling her he wanted to stick around? By sugarcoating his desires, he'd tried to let her warm up to the idea of his intentions. He'd thought women usually liked those kinds of sappy words. The gusts whipped his clothes as he made his way to the livery for Susie Girl. He ought to go back for his overcoat, but was afraid Agnes would see right through him again. It was colder than before. Gray clouds loomed in the north, contrasting with the bright sun in the crystal blue sky of the south. Muffled shouts grabbed his attention from the alley between Abigail's dress shop and the mercantile. 3 boys were scrapping in the dirt, and from the looks of it, it was 2 against 1. Samuel Forsberg was the one on the ground. Zeke marched into the alley. "Boys!" His command startled the group, and the 2 on top took off running behind the shops. Sam jumped up and would have run the other way if Zeke hadn't snagged his suspenders from behind. "Not so fast," Zeke said. "You want to tell me what's going on here?" "No." Sam swiped the back of his hand across his nose, smearing dirt on his face in the process. "They started it." "How?" "After I slugged Willie, they jumped me together, and what's I supposed to do then? I was fighting for my life. You seen 'em, both of 'em on me, vicious-like." "Hold everything. You started it." Zeke pulled Sam by his elbow and took him to the walkway, back into the daylight. "You haven't heard the half of it," Sam said. "Willie said my trousers were short and I had legs like a flamingo, and I don't even know what a flamingo is." Zeke stepped back and raked his eyes over Sam's legs. "Your trousers are too short, but that's no reason to go slugging anybody, and you don't look like a flamingo. Did you hear what happened to me the last time I punched a man?" Sam's eyes grew wide, and he jerked his head to the sheriff's office. 2 nights, Sam." Zeke put his face level with the boys and pointed to the jail. "I spent 2 nights locked in a cell. With mice. Don't be a dunce. You can't always slug a guy when you feel like it." Zeke straightened and stalked toward the livery. He called to Sam, who wasn't following. "Keep up. I have a job for you. You have too much time on your hands." He'd pay a penny a day to have Sam exercise Susie Girl. "You know anything about horses?" Sam jogged to keep up with Zeke's long strides. "Yeah, and my pa's horses are big. Sometimes he lets me ride them, but mostly they're working." "Good. Susie Girl isn't big, and she's not for working." Zeke nodded to Frank at the door and found his horse with her eyes half closed. "Wake up, girl. Meet your new friend, Sam." After he'd sent Sam on his way with instructions to be back in half an hour, Zeke walked through the mercantile, looking for ways to spend Mr. Oakfield's money. A pair of boys' trousers caught his eye, but he changed his mind. Sam would be all right for now. Simon Oakfield was someone Zeke wished he could slug. Zeke crossed his arms and looked through the shelf of school supplies. Too bad Zeke had wasted his tantrum on the wrong man. The animosity he felt toward Simon would have fueled a good fight. Picking up the lone dictionary on the shelf, he looked up animosity and read Webster's definition. Animosity, noun, Latin animositas, animosus, animated, courageous, enraged. From animus, spirit, mind passion. Greek, wind, breath, is from flowing, swelling, rushing, which gives the sense of violent action and passion. See animal. Violent hatred accompanied with active opposition. Active enmity. Animosity differs from enmity, which may be secret and inactive, and it expresses a less criminal passion than malice. Animosity seeks to gain a cause or destroy an enemy or rival, from hatred or private interest. Malice seeks revenge for the sake of giving pain. Zeke sucked in a slow breath through bared teeth and whistled. Animosity did not describe his feelings toward anyone. A touch of enmity, perhaps, but that was all. He slid the book back on the shelf and meandered around the store until it was time to meet Sam at the livery. Stay or go. Take the job or leave it. Pursue or not to pursue. There were too many what-ifs that haunted him. For now, he would take care of Sam. It was the easiest of all the things rattling through his brain. The air slapped his face when he left the mercantile, and Zeke crossed the street just in time to take Susie Girl's reins. Sam was wind-blown, but a smile spread across his whole face. Zeke wasn't sure who expended more energy during the ride, the boy or the horse. Without waiting for an invitation, Sam launched into a detailed account of their adventure together. Not much else was required from Zeke than an occasional, "You don't say," leaving far too much space available for thinking about another pair of rosy cheeks he'd much rather be looking at. Jessica and Roy were seated at the dining table with a board game between them. Zeke knocked on the window from the porch, and the couple waved him inside. "Hiya, Zeke," Roy called to him. "We're about to start another round. Want in?" Playing games was more appealing than confronting Simon at the moment. He tapped the side of Rachel's letter on the table. "What's the game?" "Sit down," Roy said, "and we'll show you. It's called Chinese checkers. It's similar to checkers, but more people can play." He handed Zeke 10 glass marbles. "Put yours there, and the winner's the first to get them to the other side."
I've beaten him twice already.
Jessica rubbed her hand along Roy's arm. Roy snatched her hand and held it. "You've been cheating, dear," she giggled.
Have not.
Roy looked at Zeke. "She cheats,"
Sit, Zeke.
Jessica said.
A lady never cheats.
Nobody was arguing that point. Zeke pulled out a chair, ignoring her gasp. Roy asked, "Staying for dinner?" "Is that allowed?" "Sure, it's allowed, though you can pay for yours. Mine is free on account of courting the daughter of the establishment." Jessica kicked him under the table.
You work enough for it. That chicken house didn't fix itself yesterday.
"Chinese checkers?" Zeke asked. Once Zeke got the hang of the game, it wasn't a bad way to pass an hour with friends, and one game turned into 3, and he lost track of time. Even with Jessica trying to cheat, Roy won 2 rounds and Zeke won. Soon Helen was shooing them from the table and setting up for dinner, putting Jessica and Roy to work with the final preparations. Simon appeared at the foot of the stairs and eyed Zeke suspiciously. "You," he said, and turned to go back to his room. Zeke rolled his eyes and followed him up the stairs and through the familiar hallway. His old room was open again. The other boarder had only stayed 2 nights while waiting for the coach. "Simon, wait. We need to talk." Simon continued to his room and slammed the door in Zeke's face. "That makes 2 in one day." Zeke took the wad of money from his pocket and tried to smooth the bills flat on his thigh. "Simon," he considered shoving them one at a time through the crack under the door. "Simon, I just want to say—" He nearly choked. "Thank you." He cleared his throat. "You were very generous and helpful, but I'm returning your money. I'm doing well now. Boss doesn't even have a bruise on his face anymore. All's well that ends well." Zeke took each bill and lined them carefully together and folded them in the middle. They were not the crisp bills he'd been given, but they would spend. "Even Eloise has forgiven me, so that's good." He brushed away her "please leave" and thought instead of the pancakes and the meal they'd shared as a family. Tobias, Luke, Eloise, and me. The door in front of his face jerked open and Simon stood glaring at him. "You do not know anything about anything, do you?" Zeke stepped back. "You do not deserve her. You would do well to leave her alone." The jealousy in Simon was strong enough that Zeke was surprised his skin hadn't turned a shade of green. The realization cleared up things in his mind regarding the man, but Zeke's hackles were raised now. He'd always felt like a dog trying to defend his territory when Simon was around, and now he knew why. "I know a lot of things," Zeke said. "I know that after Philip died, she had a hard time. She's been struggling and—" "Died?" Simon spat out the word with a cold laugh. "Is that what she told you?" "Not in so many words," said Zeke, feeling defensive against Simon's aggression. "But there aren't so many ways to say it. A widow's a widow, no matter how it came about." "Philip shot himself in the head," Simon said. "Took his own gun and killed himself." Zeke grew cold. He stepped back as if slapped. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Oh, Eloise," Zeke whispered. What she must have been dealing with all this time. His heart went out to her. Her question ran through his mind.
What about those who don't wake up?
She'd been asking about Philip. But Simon wasn't finished. I have been here for Miss Eloise for years. I have been her friend since childhood. I was the one who carried her books home from school when all Philip did was pull the ribbons from her braids, and yet she followed him around like a puppy and went wherever he led her. I spent years waiting for Eloise to look in my direction, but she had eyes on the oaf who sat behind me. The ironmonger she chose over me did not even have the honor to stay with her. He did not cherish her like I would have. He made it clear in the end that he did not want to be with her. That's not, and then you show up, a nobody from nowhere, and I will not stand for her plunging into another situation she cannot get out of. Now see here. Zeke didn't like being referred to as a situation. Simon jabbed his finger into Zeke's chest. The best thing for Miss Eloise is for you to leave. Go find the West you want so badly. Just because she thinks she's in love with you does not give you the right to dazzle her with your lies. Let those of us who know her take care of her. It took all of Zeke's restraint not to slug the man. He probably would have if he hadn't spent the afternoon mentoring Samuel against such foolishness. He settled for shoving Simon's hand and his bony finger away from his chest. Eloise can take care of herself. She doesn't need you or me to do that for her. Wadding the cash into a tight ball, he shoved it in Simon's shirt pocket. Take your money. I won't be needing it. He spun on his heel to stalk down the hallway, but stopped. A smile crept over his face. He angled back to Simon. Did you say she was in love with me? Simon scoffed. You are obscene. He slammed the door to his bedroom. Tripping down the stairs, Zeke felt a break in his spirit. No longer at odds with himself, he knew what he had to do.